It was the kind of morning where every second mattered, where hope was as fragile as the first rays of dawn, and where one decision could change everything. Daniel, a 35-year-old single father with wary eyes and a heart heavy with responsibility, rushed through the narrow streets of the city with his 5-year-old son, Max, holding his hand. His suit jacket was wrinkled, his shoes worn thin, but today wasn't about appearances, it was about survival. Daniel had spent weeks preparing for this job interview, a chance to finally lift himself and Max out of the crushing cycle of debt, second-hand clothes, and meals made from scraps. It wasn't just another job, it was the opportunity. One that could give his son a life where school trips weren't a luxury, and birthdays didn't mean dollar store toys. He knew he couldn't afford to be late. Before we go deeper into this life-changing story, take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Soul Spark for more heart-touching and inspiring stories that will move your soul. Daniel checked his cheap wristwatch again. He had exactly 20 minutes to reach the office downtown. Max trotted beside him, clutching a worn-out teddy bear that had survived countless nights of fear and tears. The bus stop wasn't far now, and Daniel prayed silently that the bus wouldn't be late today of all days. Every step carried the weight of his desperation. Every glance at his son reminded him of what was at stake. Just as they turned the corner past a small cafe, Daniel heard the sharp, panicked cry of a woman's voice. He stopped in his tracks. On the patio, a little girl, no older than Max, was clutching her throat, her face turning pale, eyes wide with terror. She was choking. The woman beside her, presumably her mother, screamed helplessly, frozen in shock. People around them stood paralyzed, some fumbling with their phones, others too horrified to move. Daniel's instincts surged faster than his thoughts. Without hesitation, he let go of Max's hand, sprinted toward the girl, and dropped to his knees. "She's choking," he yelled, his voice firm but urgent. He knew the Heimlich maneuver. He had read about it once, never imagining he would need it. With steady, desperate movements, he wrapped his arms around the girl from behind, pressed his fist into her abdomen, and thrust upward. Once, twice, on the third push, a piece of food shot out of her mouth. The girl gasped for air, tears streaming down her face as the colors slowly returned. The mother collapsed in relief, clutching her daughter tightly. Oh my God, thank you! You saved her life!" she cried, her elegant hands trembling as she held her child. Daniel, panting and drenched in nervous sweat, simply nodded, offering a faint, reassuring smile. Max ran up to him, grabbing his father's sleeve with worried eyes. "Daddy, are you okay?" Daniel glanced at his watch, and his heart sank. He was already late. Too late. The interview, his one chance, was slipping away even as gratitude washed over the small cafe scene. He muttered an apology, explained hurriedly that he was late for something important, and without waiting for praise or thanks, took Max's hand and rushed away. The woman, still cradling her daughter, watched him leave. Her mind was in a storm of emotions. Her little girl was alive because of him. She didn't even get his name. That woman was Catherine Wallace, 42 years old, a name whispered with awe in the corporate world, and a billionaire CEO known for building an empire of companies across industries. But at that moment, she wasn't a CEO, wasn't a powerhouse. She was just a mother who had almost lost her child, and that nameless stranger had saved her entire world. Meanwhile, Daniel and Max arrived at the towering office building nearly half an hour late. The receptionist gave him a polite but apologetic smile. "I'm sorry, sir. The interviews are over." Daniel tried to explain, desperation lacing every word, but the decision was final. He stood there, shoulders slumped, while Max tugged at his sleeve. "It's okay. Daddy will try again." His son's innocent attempt at comfort broke him inside. But Daniel forced a smile, because fathers had to be strong, even when their world was falling apart. The next few days blurred into a haze of odd jobs and mounting bills. Daniel sold his old phone just to buy groceries, skipped meals so Max could eat, and stayed awake at night, staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering how much longer he could fight. He thought about the girl he saved, and for a fleeting second, he wished her mother had been in a position to help him back. But he shook the thought away. Heroes don't ask for rewards. Catherine, on the other hand, couldn't shake his face from her mind. She had the resources to command boardrooms and bend markets, Yet here was a man who disappeared into the crowd after saving her child, asking for nothing in return. She had her security team check the cafe cameras, track down witnesses, and finally, one evening, she found his address. When Catherine's sleek black car pulled up outside Daniel's crumbling apartment building, he thought it was a mistake. Max peeked through the window as Catherine stepped out, dressed in an understated coat, her daughter holding her hand. She knocked softly, and when Daniel opened the door, confusion filled his tired eyes. "Missy, I don't even know your name," Catherine began, her voice gentle yet steady. "You saved my daughter's life. I've been searching for you." Daniel stammered, embarrassed by the peeling paint on the walls behind him, by the sight of Max clutching his teddy bear. "It was nothing. Anyone would have done it." "Not anyone," Catherine said firmly, her eyes glistening. "Please, let me thank you properly." He shook his head. "We don't need charity." "It's not charity," she replied. "It's recognition." She paused, studying his thin frame, the quiet strength in his tired face. "What do you do for a living?" Daniel laughed bitterly. "Anything I can. But I was supposed to have a job interview that day. I missed it because of what happened." Catherine's expression shifted. A mix of shock and guilt washed over her. She realized her daughter's life had cost him his chance at a better future. In that moment, a decision bloomed in her heart. The next week, Daniel received a call he never expected. Catherine had arranged for him to come to her company. Not as a favor, but for a real interview. His skills and experiences considered with genuine respect. Nervous but determined, he showed up, wearing his only suit. This time, there was no rushing, no panic, just hope. Daniel's honesty, grit, and resilience shone through. He wasn't polished, but he was real, and Catherine admired that. By the end of the day, he was offered a managerial position, one that came with stability, benefits, and a salary that could finally support his son. But that wasn't the end. Over time, Catherine and Daniel's paths crossed more often. She saw in him a man who put others before himself, who loved his son fiercely, who had the kind of integrity money couldn't buy. And Daniel saw in her not the billionaire CEO, but a mother who cared deeply, who carried her own scars, who longed for something real beyond her empire. They weren't perfect, but together they built something unexpected. For Max, it meant a brighter future. For Catherine's daughter, it meant safety and warmth. And for Daniel, it meant that sometimes, the sacrifices we make in moments of crisis lead us to blessings we never saw coming. Before we close this story, if you've been moved by Daniel's journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul Spark. Your support helps us keep sharing these powerful, life-changing stories with the world. In the end, Daniel often thought back to that morning. He had missed his chance, or so he believed. But life had a way of rewriting destiny in ways we can't imagine. What seemed like a cruel twist of fate became the very doorway to a new life. And perhaps that's the message for all of us, that in moments when we lose everything, we may unknowingly be stepping into the very path meant for us. Sometimes, the smallest act of courage, the most selfless choice, can transform not only our lives but the lives of others in ways more profound than we ever dream.